listeners, welcome to the Lone Screenplay Nominee Podcast, where we talk about films that were solely nominated for an Oscar in the writing categories. I'm your host, Matthew Anderson, and today we have Megan Loucks. Am I pronouncing that right? The last
Close.
name?
Close.
Okay.
It's Loucks.
Loucks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Megan Loucks, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today, Megan?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, I'm very interested to know your take on this. Yeah, we'll get to that very shortly. But as usual, I have to ask, with Megan Loucks being a new guest on the show, I have some questions I want to ask. So I wanted to ask for our fellow listeners out there who are listening, what exactly it is you do for a living. Like, I know you'd said to me off air that you are a film critic, or at least write reviews. Would you care to explain a little bit more what exactly it is you do as a film critic?
Yeah, so I have a website, wonderwatchlist.com, where I review films, and I really just dive into what I love about film. I don't tote myself as a professional. There are probably grammatical errors everywhere, but I feel like that's part of the charm sometimes. I have a YouTube channel, which is Wonder Meg, where I post reviews, physical media hauls, all that fun stuff. And yeah, I've been talking about movies online for almost 10 years now, which is, oh my gosh, kind of crazy to think about. But I just started my website this year, and it has been a really great place to kind of express what I love about movies. And I'm just really excited to hop on. I love coming on podcasts. I don't have one myself yet, hopefully soon, but it's always a great time.
Yeah, well, the two things I want to ask in regards to your podcast, your website, excuse me. We're getting a little ahead of here. Your website, you said that you created it yourself. It's an independent website. It's not, you're not having, like, you're essentially your own boss of the site.
Yeah, so I do everything myself. It is a little tricky at times, but it is so rewarding seeing, like, when you type out your review, get all the pictures in there, the links in there, hitting publish, and then being able to go somewhere and be like, I wrote this all myself, I edited it myself, and it's all me. It's really cool, and it's been a really great experience to learn how to speak about films better, and just better how to engage with film. I think I always suggest everyone do it. It doesn't have to be perfect right away. It is just a really great outlet for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a really fun outlet for you. And I figured, here you are, you're trying to run a website yourself, and you're doing everything. You got a YouTube page. You also mentioned off air that you had like a full-time job as well. So it's a lot of time to manage as well, and such. But yeah, so that was really like one question one of the a couple of questions I want to ask for you. The second one I want to ask is, it's again, I always ask my guests what their favorite genre is, just because for me personally, it's always really tough to figure out what's my favorite film, because you could literally go through like a whole plethora, like a whole CD holder disc, binder of like, what's my favorite film of the day and whatnot. So I wanted to ask, is there like a favorite genre of film you'd like to watch?
Oh, that is really difficult. I feel like I have a very broad taste in movies. Like, I mean, we were just talking about Emilia Perez off air, and it's not necessarily a movie that I would be into, but I was into like the music and stuff. But if I had to choose, I would probably choose like fantasy, like Lord of the Rings or Excalibur or stuff like that. I love fantasy movies. They are just chef's kiss. They are my favorite. I love getting lost in like those worlds and the mythology around it. I really wish that the fantasy genre would have a comeback, but...
In film or just in general?
Yeah, in film. Like,
okay.
I know there's like Game of Thrones, and I know Game of Thrones has like they announced a movie, but Yeah, I just love those big budget fantasy movies. The costumes, the acting is always just so good.
Yeah, when it's done in the right with the right people involved, because there have been some fantasy movies that I've seen that I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so boring, or this is not at all what you should do, and you're kind of treating the people like that. There's a couple of guests that I've had on the show who are like, I do not like fantasy at all. I
Oh
hate it. You know,
no.
and they're like, even the Lord of the Rings, they were so pissed off that like. I won't mention the guest's name, but you can kind of guess who it is. But they just were not. They were not. They didn't like the fact that like Return of the King won Best Picture.
Oh no.
But you know what? But yeah, that's fine. You know, I get it. You know, fantasy is that's a very specific genre that you're either on board with or you're not. And if
Yeah,
you're not on board
exactly.
with it, then there's not much else you could do. Like at least some of the other genres, there's some there's like subgenres within the others, like horror or romance or action, where it's like you could find a subgenre that a person wouldn't typically like this kind of genre, but there's at least something in here that they could enjoy. But fantasy is very much like a hot and cold situation, so to speak. Yeah,
Yeah.
can't speak today. And it's about like my general questions I have for you, Megan. So so the interrogation light will come off. We're gonna put the main switch on. You're unshackled from the handcuffs. You're not being interrogated for having like a wrong movie opinion. This is a very free interaction episode and show, I should say. So yeah, so we're done with that. Instead, we're gonna move right on. Everyone knows where this episode's going, like the other ones. We're gonna go into our discussion of Megan's pick, Lars and the Real Girl from 2007. This won't be a beat-by-beat bulletin presentation like you hear on other channels, but we will be discussing major spoilers for our talk. If you haven't seen the film yet and want to hear our full thoughts on it, watch the film first and then come back to hear us talk about it, because I think we have some interesting points to bring up for this film. So yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. But before we do, as usual, we're going to go through our typical production notes that I always do research for these films. And without further ado, here we go. So writer Nancy Oliver was known for her theater background before finding work on the award-winning show 6 Feet Below with the creator Alan Ball. If you're not familiar with who Alan Ball is, he was the same guy who won an Oscar for writing American Beauty. They previously had founded the General Nonsense Theater Company decades before this, and Nancy had revealed that her inspiration for this script came from an actual website, realdoll.com, as she was doing research on weird websites for an article and found the page. She wrote the screenplay in 2002 and was ranked third place for The Blacklist, which is an annual survey of the most liked motion picture screenplays not yet produced in 2005. This is when the ranking had happened. The film was produced on a budget of $12 million and was filmed in Wisconsin. It made its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 16th, 2007, and was released in theaters the next month, with MGM distributing the film. Sadly, the film was considered a box office failure, making roughly $11 million back. And in terms of its awards chances, Ryan Gosling got nominations from the Critics' Choice, Golden Globe in the Comedy Musical category, and Screen Actors Guild. Unfortunately, this was not enough to translate itself into an actual Oscar nomination, as actors like Johnny Depp and Tommy Lee Jones, sorry, again, can't speak today. So yeah, Johnny Depp and Tommy Lee Jones made it in over Ryan Gosling with Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and In the Valley of Eli, respectively. And so, Nancy Oliver not only got nominations from Critics' Choice and Writers Guild of America in the screenplay category, but she also won the original screenplay prize at the National Board of Review. After the film, Nancy went on to write for TV shows such as True Blood from 2008 to 2011, Here and Now, and the miniseries Angeline, I believe, from 2022. I'm getting my names mixed up here. So, so we have that, and so the director himself, Greg Gillespie, went on to direct the remake for Fright Night back in 2011. He directed I, Tonya, which got Allison Janney her first Oscar win, and also directed Cruella, which got a costume design win. Also, should anyone feel sad for Ryan Gosling missing out on an Oscar nod for this movie, and I have a strong feeling Megan might too, he has gone on to get nominated again for La La Land and Barbie in lead actor and supporting actor respectively. And I should also just make a quick little just a correction here. I did just realize Tommy Lee Jones, I should mention, was the one nominated at the Oscars, not at SAG, but regardless. But anyways, so yeah, we'll get into the why that was, or why I think that happened when we get into our award section later in the show. So as far as the log line of this film, a delusional young man strikes up an unconventional relationship with the doll he finds on the internet. So Megan, I have to ask many questions, one of which involved, why was it, out of the list I gave to you, why was it that this was one of the many that you realized that now this would be an interesting discussion to have on the Lone Screenplay Nominee podcast? Was it because of a certain someone that's in the movie, or is it just, the general topic overall you're interested in discussing?
Well, I saw it on the list and I was like, when am I going to have another opportunity to talk about this movie? And I couldn't think of another time where someone would ask me to come on their show and give me a chance. So I was like, I have to take it because I've seen this film 2 times now, and I think it's up there for one of my favorite Ryan Gosling performances because it is so underrated. I feel like you said, it totally flopped, unfortunately. So I feel like a lot of people haven't really seen the movie and his performance, and I think his performance is magnificent. So
yeah, Gosling has shown himself from time and time again, especially in the last decade, to be a really versatile actor. You see him in, now he's doing mostly comedies. He was in The Nice Guys, which is another box office bomb, and if anyone hasn't seen that, you must. That's really fun. And surprisingly, weirdly enough, like one of the few times I could actually handle Russell Crowe in a movie. He's actually good too. I'm like, wait, what the hell? And then Gosling went on to do stuff like I mentioned, La La Land. He was in Barbie, which if you weren't aware of, I don't know why, because it made $1 billion and was such like a talked about movie in 2023. Outside of Oppenheimer, I mean, hell, they created Barbenheimer for Christ's sakes. It's like, what the hell? Where were you in a coma? Were you living under a rock? Anyways, And he has proven himself to be a really capable comedic actor, but he's also a really good dramatic actor too. Like we've seen him in Drive, which is actually, I think that might have been, I don't think that was like the first movie of his I saw growing up, but it was definitely one of the first I remembered in my head of like, wow, this guy's actually making an impact on me. Like it was like Drive, and then he had Crazy Crazy Stupid Love he was in with Emma Stone, and then it was, what was the other film? Ides of March, all in 2011.
Ooh, yeah.
So like that alone really showed the kind of range he had, where he could do like a fluffy romantic comedy, he can do an action, or at least dramatic stylized action movie, and then even with a political thriller almost with Ides of March, and it just showed the range that he had as an actor. Was pretty good. Here once again, he's really solid in the film. He's probably, in my opinion, one of the better parts of the movie. And he really does commit. He weirdly, I don't want to go too much into this because it's a bit of a personal, touchy subject to begin with. But I've known people who kind of react the way Gosling does in this movie. Like he's very shy, he's antisocial, he doesn't really talk to many people, and even when people say hello, give him compliments, he's like, oh, okay, and then just walks away, and and even when he's being invited in earlier in the film, when he's being invited to like a breakfast or like a lunch or something, he's very much like, oh yeah, no, I got other things I got to do, my schedule is busy and such. So I So yeah, I thought that was believable enough, and obviously it's written well enough by Nancy Oliver, who has a solid script on her hands, and it also helps too that you have a good enough character an actor's director, I should say, behind it, Craig Kalepsi, who, yeah, it's so strange. This is like, I think, the third or fourth film directed by him that I've seen that I'm like, he's pretty good with getting a lot of these different actors and giving good performances. Like, I remember even Colin Farrell was pretty good in Fright Night. Like, say what you want about the movie, like Colin Farrell and David Tennant, I think it was, one of the Doctor Who's. Like, they're pretty good in the movie, and even got Margot Robbie an Oscar nomination for I, Tonya as well. So like he knows how to direct, like competently direct some of these movies well enough. And I think here is no exception. Isn't the exception. But yeah, I this was my first viewing I'd seen of it, and I thought overall it was. I did enjoy the movie overall, but I didn't quite fall in love with it as much as you may have, Megan. But that's okay. It's fine. But I still enjoyed enough of it because I thought it was not just Gosling's performance that really got me through the film, but also just some of the ideas and themes that Nancy was tackling from a screenplay point of view. Like, I'm genuinely shocked this is like the only feature-length screenplay she's ever written. Like, she hasn't written anything else for film ever. She's been sticking to TV for, whether it's because it's kind of like her bread and butter, she's more familiar with it or whatnot, but I do wonder why she doesn't write more screenplays for film, because you would figure she'd have like a knack for this, be like, I'm gonna keep writing more screenplays for films, because we have seen writers who have gone from TV to film and have become commercially successful. We see stuff like Aaron Sorkin is one who has become really successful. And it's funny, it's ironic I bring him up because we also have an actor from a show that he had created, The Newsroom, Emily Mortimer, I think her name is. And it's interesting that, this is another film, 2 episodes in a row, where it's like she shows up on my podcast, and I'm like, what's going on? Because she was also in last episode's Match Point as well. And so like I said, I enjoyed the movie overall, and, just to give my general thoughts, and then we could just dive into some of the points about it, because I think you have some notes, too, about it. But overall, yeah, I enjoy the movie, but I'm not quite in love with it as much as most people are. But I get why. Yeah. I get why there is a following for this, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the first time I had seen it was I actually bought a DVD copy at the Dollar Tree for $1. It was, I don't know if you go to dollar stores often, but they have like a mini media section. And
I sure forget they have some of them there.
Yeah, rarely ever do they have movies that like I'm really interested in, but like once in a while there'll be like some movies that are on my watch list that I'm like, okay, I'll just check that off and snag it for $1. And I saw this one and I was like, man, I've been really wanting to watch this for like years. And actually, I think I just watched it for the first time like maybe a year and a half ago. And I just remember really being intrigued by the character because, first of all, the premise is just pretty wild. A shy guy gets essentially a sex doll and is toting it around like it's his girlfriend, and everyone in his life is like accepting of it to his face, and then they have conversations, of course, amongst each other where they're like, this is weird, like, but they know that it brings him happiness, it brings him out of his shell, so they're like, let's just let him be himself. This is the most we've spoken to him, the most we've seen him in forever. So, I really just love that he finds his own happiness in life, and it gets him to be himself. It opens him up to go to parties, talk to people, and you know, it before I saw the movie, you know, you always have like an idea of what it is before you watch it, and I thought this was just gonna be some weirdo guy who buys a
Yep.
sex doll, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's like there's gonna be like a lot of hijinks where it's like, oh yeah,
yeah,
surprise, he's a
yeah,
secretly a pedophile or some shit,
yeah, but he treats her like it's a real woman with respect, and I just find it so endearing. And like you said, you know, there's people in your life that you know that struggle with like loneliness and shyness, and often they get like shunned for it, you know, like, oh, just open up, just be yourself, open up more. And you know, some people struggle with like certain aspects of their personality and they just can't. And I just found this movie to be very like poetic in a way of like, you just have to like find your own happiness, make your own happiness. Obviously it's in a very over the top way. I mean, getting a sex doll and treating it like it's a real person is kind of wild. But when I was a kid, I had Barbie dolls and action figures, and you, as a kid, that's how you learn how to play, and you learn your personality, and you learn how to socialize. So and you know, when you watch the movie, you find out that his dad basically abandons him emotionally because of what happens to his mother, and so he feels a sense of detachment. And it's like a child like learning to heal kind of in a way, but in like a really weird way. But
Yeah, there's also a really interesting point, and I kind of wonder if Nancy had taken any psychology classes or even had spoken to various psychology professors or anyone within that the medical industry of like, you know, how would, like, if this kind of situation were to happen, how would doctors be able to treat him, you know, especially with how we get that the Patricia Clarkson character in the film, which I find it so funny that the idea of her playing a doctor is like that to me is like, I don't know why, but it's just strangely funny. And I think this might be one of the first films I've seen Patricia Clarkson in. I haven't really seen a whole lot with her in it. And whenever I do think about her, I always think about that her Oscar nomination she got for like in 2003. I can't remember what the movie was titled, but yeah, just her as a like I said, just her playing this like doctor, and essentially is like going along with like, yeah, caring for Bianca, who is the doll, but in reality she's there to really treat and help him, especially with like when there's that scene where she touches him and it's like, you know, how does, you know, are you in any pain? He goes, yeah, I'm in pain. And then, you know, it moves up further to his arm, and then once he reaches his face, he's like, okay, I'm done. I'm like, nope, that's, and he's like, and she's like, okay, we're done for today, that's okay. And yeah, it just shows that there's a sense of professionalism to treating this issue, and one that I was not expecting the film to do. Like I said, I really was expecting it to delve into more hijinks and more, a lot more quirkiness. And it is quirky, but it's not really done in a way that's unrealistic. Like it's, you know, there are a couple things about it, like where when we're introduced to the guy in church, and there's like there's a toy that falls down, and he tries putting it back up on the pew on the side, and then it falls over. He's like, you know, then he covers his eyes and his face. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And he just, you know, slouches back into his little aisle, and he's just, you know, just thinking of like, yeah, I just gotta sort of like mentally, you know, get this out of my brain right now as the father is giving a sermon, you know. And I thought that was interesting. And one of the few things I did think that was really funny, and it really just showcases Gosling's talents as an actor, that I thought was great, was when, after he helps one of the older women in the church to bring flowers out to his car, the older woman gives him one of the fake flowers. And she's like, you know, you should give this to someone someone special, you know, someone who really deserves you, or something like that. And then he turns, and then there's one of the choir women comes out of the church, and she's like, hey Lars, and then, you know, he turns around, notices who said hi, and then throws the flower away. I thought that was like, oh my God, that was that did feel like he captured like the Kenergy,
Yeah.
so to speak, from Barbie and like Nice Guys. But I just thought it was so funny that it's like, it really, again, it just shows how good of an actor he is overall. And that he has the range to it, and all the other actors in it are good too. I as I'm pulling up the list here of who the other actors were. Emily Mortimer, we already brought up. We also brought up Patricia Clarkson as well. I want to ask, what did you think of all the other performances as well? Because am I the only one in thinking that the other actors in the ensemble are good, or do you think just Gosling is as good?
I think they're just as good. I think the movie works incredibly well with the ensemble, especially his sister. They have like a very unique relationship, and the way that Emily and Ryan kind of explore that he essentially lives in like this little house on their property, and like she'll go visit him or have him come over, and I love it's like handled with such care, and at no time does it feel like the movie is like mocking mocking Lars for his lifestyle, and especially through the character of his sister. Like, she's accepting, and she loves him no matter what, and she understands him, and is willing to have a sex doll at the table when they're having dinner or in her house on her couch. And I feel like those actors really brought that home with their performances, and their chemistry is just really great. And the doctor is another one. Her performance was, it's one that you don't see the doctor often, but the moments with her character are very impactful. Like you said, with the touching, the things that you learn about Lars in the doctor's office with those conversations help you kind of understand like the bigger picture of why he acts the way he does, and why he's sensitive to touch, and why he would have a sex doll as a girlfriend. And his sister is pregnant, and a lot of this is sparked because she's pregnant, and they unfortunately, spoilers if you guys haven't seen it. But,
yeah, like, come on. Yeah, you're good.
His mother
but seriously, come on, guys. You already know at this point. Go ahead,
their mother dies because of, I'm pretty sure it's because of complications with the pregnancy with him. And so that's why his father kind of distances himself from Lars. And so he didn't grow up with someone there to love on him and teach him how to love on somebody else, have these relationships. And so you learn through that his sister becomes pregnant, and that's what kind of sparks his anxiety about, like, he wants to find a companion. He doesn't want to lose his sister. He's worried about the pregnancy. He has intimacy issues because his dad isn't around, and he's really quite tragic of a character, but everyone around him really just loves him and supports him. And I couldn't be an actor, because imagine like being in a movie like this, and and they all have to act like they have lines. They talk to the sex doll and stuff. Yeah. So I couldn't, more praise to them, because there's no way I could, do that with a straight face. But that's, they get paid the big bucks for it. But
in this case, it was pretty small.
Yeah. They get paid some bucks for this.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. And real quick, when you mean sister, you mean like sister? You mean sister-in-law, right?
Oh yeah, sister-in-law. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just want to make sure so we're not confusing our audience. Like,
yeah, sorry.
Like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. The other actor I do have to give a shout out to, because I thought he was like really funny on some of the facial expressions, was Paul Schneider. I thought he was like really. There was like some points in the film where I thought he gives like a lot of great reactions. Like, there was one of my favorites was where in the church, they like the whole family arrives with Bianca, and Lars and the sister-in-law Karen. They're all singing. The two of them are singing, and everyone else is in church singing. and then the camera cuts to Gus, and he has this look on his face like, what is happening? What am I doing? Like, I need to die. And I was like, that was so great, and it worked really well for that kind of character. And I'm glad you also brought up that about the Karen character, about how she was the one who was more accepting of like, yeah, let's have the doll at dinner over, the husband. Because weirdly enough, I don't know why, but in my head when I was watching the movie, I'm like, oh, it's going to be the reverse, where it's like Gus is going to be okay with it because of the fact that like he's close to his brother. Like, they're literally blood brothers. Yeah. Or literally brothers, I should say. And then you have Karen, who's like, what the hell is going on with this? But no, she was the one who was very accepting of it and is like, whatever it takes to make sure that we help him through this. And even as the film goes throughout as we go throughout the film, he changes as a character. Like, he slowly starts opening up, not just to the doctor, but to his sister-in-law and his brother, and even to the girl who works with him, Margot. Especially when they go out for bowling. When they go out for bowling, it's like he slowly starts to create a connection with her and really starts being infatuated with her. And even gives her a handshake of like, this was like a nice time we went for bowling. And I thought that was really nice. And yeah, just it works really well with the character. And again, he goes on a bit of an arc in of itself. And I thought that was, again, just like a nice writing technique. And if nothing else, I think this could be like a potential, like if you were to teach screenwriting classes at a film school, this could be like one of the many choices you can go to, where it's like, this is how we establish our character, this is how we show a bit of change throughout the film, or at least there has to be some kind of change if you want to have the audience care and be invested in the story. And it's also talking about a subject matter that is done in a really weird but interesting way, especially addressing mental health issues. And they just do a good job with it. The one thing, I don't know if you wrote this down in your notes, but I was really glad, going back to the bowling scene, I was really glad when the buddies of Gus come to the bowling alley. I was really worried. I'm like, oh God, please don't do this, where they're going to end up being like harassing Lars, and we're going to have like a forced conflict with them for no reason other than like, oh, we have to have it in there. But no, they're actually hanging out with Lars and Margot and bowling. And I'm like, wow, I have to admit, you really surprised me, movie. I didn't expect it to go that way. And I like that there wasn't really much of like a conflict other than just Lars dealing with the conflict in of itself. Like, he's the one that has to accept everything that's changing and getting used to everything, to where he decides to let Bianca go at the lake. Which I don't know about you, but I was surprisingly emotional about. I didn't expect that for a movie like this.
Yeah, you just get so connected to Lars as a character, and that Bianca helped aid him like into coming out of his shell and helped him with his relationships with real people. And obviously we know that she's not really dying, and but it's just like a very sad scene. You didn't want her to leave because you worry that, well, what if he like regresses and whatnot. But it really is such a testament of how great Ryan Gosling is, because that scene, that might be, outside of like the bowling scene and the scene where he's sitting on the couch with Bianca, that scene, the lake scene, might be like my favorite scene of the movie. And even when I was rewatching it today, like I had my phone propped up at work, and I was just like half watching it and listening, and I had to like take my break. I was like, hey guys, I'm taking my break, because I knew I was going to start tearing up. It really does hit you, because it's like the culmination of the entire movie, and all of like, he came so far, like from the Lars that you see in the beginning to like the end. I'm just tearing up thinking about him. But I
Yeah.
really hold such a soft spot for Lars, this character, and I don't know if they, it's kind of like an enigma that the movie came out when it did, because I don't know if it would come out today. I feel like it might be a little too risky anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if, well, even Gosling of his, like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
he just got nominated like the year before for Half Nelson, I think it was, and that was like
Yeah.
a small indie movie, which I do wonder if that nomination did help this film get financing secured. Of like,
Yeah,
oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
like he got an Oscar nod. Like, hey, let's actually get this film going. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to look into it too much, but yeah, yeah, but no, yeah, it's a good scene, and once again, it really shows his talents as an actor, and I think he's wonderful, all the more. There was I did want to bring up some of my notes. Wanted to bring up was when the movie started. I started laughing immediately, out of context for the movie. Have you seen the memes that went around when Vine was in existence, of the cereal eating meme of like Ryan Gosling not eating the cereal? Like that's all I thought of during that scene where he puts like the scarf over his mouth or whatever. And all I can think of is that scene. If those who are listening have forgotten or don't know what I'm referring to, there was a Viner named Ryan McHenry, and it was like a name of vines that he had created called Ryan Gosling Won't Eat His Cereal. And he did it as what he would do is that he would put up Ryan Gosling's movies on his projector and hold a spoonful of cereal, only to have Ryan Gosling's character not make a movement that appeared as though they were refusing to eat it. And so this became like such a viral meme, so to speak. Unfortunately, Martin McHenry was diagnosed with bone cancer, and he had to go through chemotherapy and surgery for the removal of his tumor, so he was going through all this, and ended up passing away on May 2015. So the meme maker was quickly met with tributes and messages of condolences from his supporters and friends on Vine and Twitter. And as a personal tribute, Ryan Gosling made a video for him to McHenry in form of a Vine, where he recorded himself pouring out a bowl of cereal and eating it to McHenry's honor.
Aww.
And I thought that was like a really nice gesture he did, you know? And I'm so happy that he did that, and yeah, it was great. And God, yeah, I'm kind of tearing up just even reminiscing about that. But no, it was great though. Like, it was that opening shot of the movie was funny and immediately brought all those memories back to me. And now the audience has a bit of context as to what what exactly happened.
We'll have to find that. We'll have to find that video and post it when you post this.
Yeah,
so people have the context.
Yeah, I'll put in the link somewhere of like where the Vine video was, or where the article was. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was, it was so strange because when I come back to rewatch some of these older movies, I keep forgetting how much technology has changed. Like, I'm recording on like a G7 series gaming laptop right now.
Yeah.
And back then we had like the old, Microsoft monitors and system where it's like you push the button and then the screen would like slowly open up. And then when I saw them, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about those old ass computer monitors.
I know. I always love watching old movies and like looking back, because it is like, movies are such time capsules. So I appreciate even this, like the fashion too. Like the fashion in this movie is so like early 2000s, mid 2000s. So
yeah. And the other thing I also want to bring up was there's a couple other things I want to bring up in terms of the movie. Was one, another line of the film I thought was funny was when Gus is telling his work buddies about the sex doll, and then one of them says, does she have a sister? And I thought that was hilarious. Like, that was one of the few moments of the film, like, okay, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And another element of the film I liked in terms of the screenplay, you know, we already mentioned about the passing of Bianca, and that, you know, it was a way of Lars letting go of Bianca as a way of him slowly coming over his barrier of not connecting with people socially. Like, now he can, and he doesn't really need the doll. But on top of that, I also really like how Lars and Margot's relationship builds throughout the film. Like, I think they are a really nice couple. Like, even chemistry-wise, they're really good. And as I mentioned before, he goes on this arc to where he's able to connect with Margot socially, and, you know, even physically, even if it is just like a simple handshake. You know, it doesn't have to be anything overt or obscene, or be too graphic with with it, but it shows like there is a stepping stone that he's going through, so to speak, of like, yeah, he's willing to overcome this social barrier that he got himself in. Not that it was done by himself, it just, that's how it ended up being for him. You know, because you couldn't really control everything about, you know, losing his mother and then his father, you know, abandoning him, you know, emotionally and such. But yeah, that was like those are the things I wanted to bring up in terms of like what were some elements that I enjoyed about the film, and what were some things that I admired about how Nancy had tackled the screenplay. But yeah.
Yeah, one more thing that I wanted to bring up was the use of his baby blanket. That he always wraps people he cares about in his baby blanket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I always think that is something that I never had a baby blanket as a kid. Oh, I probably did, honestly, but it didn't go with me onto like adulthood. But I know so many people in my life that like have baby blankets, and they're just like totally tattered and gross, but like they keep them because of like X, Y, and Z reasons. And I love how she wrote in a reason. Like, it's not just there just 'cause.
Yep.
Like, he uses it in the movie to like veil the people he cares about, protect them, and it's like such a like sweet gesture that shows his personality without like him like outright saying he cares about them.
Yeah. Yeah, he even tells the sister Karen, you know, at the beginning of like, you know, wrap yourself in it. You don't want to get too cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not just. I didn't even notice that connection at all. I
didn't notice it the first time I watched it, but the second time I was like, oh, that's it's so sweet.
Yeah, again, it really is just kind of a shame that like Nancy Oliver hasn't gone on to write more screenplays for film. Because like I said, I think she, you know, maybe she is pretty good at this, you know, but I haven't seen any of her other TV work. Yet, but I'll always try to get
a bit of True Blood. True Blood's not bad, but True Blood is like True Blood is very horny, so if you're not into like sexual stuff, it's probably not for you. But
gotcha.
I do enjoy True Blood. It's just you can't watch a lot of it because it's just a lot of sex.
Yeah, just don't show it to your folks, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 6 Feet Under, 6 Feet Under is definitely a show I'll watch down the road. It's so hard for me to find time to watch TV with the workload I get with the podcasting, with trying to get caught up on movies, and then I got my own work I now have. So yeah. But if I ever get around to it, I'll at least check out some of the episodes that she had a hand in. But yeah, I
always wanted to watch that show, that 6 Feet Under show. I always see. When I go, because I go thrifting a lot, you know, that's how I mostly get my physical media. And I see those box sets of 6 Feet Under like everywhere. And I've always wanted to watch it because it looks really interesting, but, you know, and it's funny because Craig Gillespie, I think that's how you say it.
I think it is.
Yeah, something.
Sorry,
I'm so bad with last name. Craig Gillespie. I don't know. Yeah. I'm really bad, but I never knew that I was like a fan of his movies until like I actually started paying attention to who made movies.
Yeah.
And I've been finding that it's the same way with like screenwriters and like cinematographers and stuff.
Yep.
Like when you go, I don't know how often you use Letterboxd, but I'm on it like way too much.
Same.
I'm always looking at like my stats of the year, like all-time stats, and it shows you like who's your most watched like cinematographer or screenwriter, and I'm like, no way, I didn't know I watched this person's like entire filmography already, and I didn't even know that this was a person. So that's like the cool thing, is when you finally start looking into who's making these movies and who's writing them, that you find out like, oh, I have a pattern of like the types of movies I like. And so when I found out that Craig made this one, I was like, oh well, let me see what else I've watched by him. And I, Tonya is like one of my favorite movies. I love Cruella. Fright Night, I remember seeing Fright Night in the theater when it first came out. I had no idea. Nope, I did not pay attention to directors back then. Yeah. But I just think it's interesting when you really start looking into these, who makes them, and you find out your own patterns and stuff.
I saw Fright Night at like a midnight screening, I think, literally at midnight, I think, and or maybe it was like a 10 o'clock screening we went to, but we got up at like midnight and whatnot. But yeah, that was an interesting movie. I haven't seen the original Fright Night, but I would like to.
Oh my gosh, you have to see it.
I know, yeah. Yeah, it's like that Spill.com review when
it's really good.
Yeah, where Corey Coleman's like, I've not seen the original, and then the entire crew are like, what? Like, how dare you? Like, give me your review credentials right now, fucker.
I just saw it for the first time, I think last year. So okay. Don't feel bad. I watched the first Fright Night, like I didn't even know there was like an original, because I watched it the year it came out probably. Yeah. So do not feel bad that you haven't seen it, but it is really good. It is. The original is just like, there's just something about it that is,
Yeah, don't worry. I'll get around to watching it again. It's just I have literally almost no time on my hands.
I feel you.
We just passed Halloween. It's like, damn it, like that would have been a perfect. Well, as at the time we're recording, we just passed Halloween, but when this episode comes up, it'll be like end of November, I think.
Yeah.
Because again, we're recording these like as close as about a week after we just finished recording Match Point. I just finished editing that episode yesterday, so that was like another episode down, 2 more to go. So yeah. So going back to our movie though, any final thoughts on the movie itself that you would like to express before we dwindle down to our awards contender section?
If you haven't seen it and you've been listening, definitely check it out, because it is worthy of at least one watch for Ryan's performance alone and the ensemble's performance. I really love Ryan Gosling. I wish and I hope that he goes back to doing like these smaller, more intimate movies, because I feel like that's really where he shines. But yeah, I love this movie. It was a surprise for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was a surprise for me, because like I said, I didn't expect it to be as like well written or well structured enough, and as it ended up being, or even just tackling such a serious subject matter like this and doing it in an interesting way that didn't, again, as I keep saying over and over, revolve around like a lot of quirky situations. And you could be quirky with a story like this. You just need the right director to tell it in an interesting way. Like Wes Anderson, you need someone like him to tell the stories that he tells. Otherwise it just doesn't work. And there's like a sweetness to it, to Lars and the Real Girl, and it works well. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it, even though I'm not quite like as high on the scale as you, Megan. But I definitely would recommend this too if you're at all remotely curious in seeing the movie. And if nothing else, you get another interesting performance by Ryan Gosling, who is once again he has shown time and time again he can be a capable and versatile actor. Just look at his Oscar nominations he's gotten for like Half Nelson, La La Land, and Barbie. Like they're all different from each other. Even La La Land, he's very different from how he plays the character in Barbie. But yeah, so that's that. As far as our awards conversation goes, I have to ask my guests when they come on to the show, Did you think this was worthy of its sole writing nomination, and would you have nominated this in other categories?
Oh yeah, I definitely think it's worthy of its writing nomination, and I definitely would have nominated Ryan for this. It's one of those roles that I feel like he really meshed with the character. He transformed into this character, and he did it respectfully, and I don't know. I would have to see who else was nominated that year, I guess. But I think he should have gotten something for it.
Yeah, I haven't seen. Well, I've seen the other nominees in the category, save for one. But I'll get to that just in a second. I'm actually okay with this getting in for original screenplay. Even though I haven't, weirdly enough, I haven't seen the winner yet, which is Juno.
You haven't seen Juno?
Not yet. No. I'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
Because I'll make a special announcement about that later in the show. And I haven't seen The Savages yet, which got Laura Linney a surprise Oscar nomination. It also starred the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, who, another great actor that we had. And so it was like The Savages, Juno, Michael Clayton, and then Ratatouille were the nominees for original screenplay. I'm okay with Lars and the Real Girl making it for original screenplay. So let's talk about this lead actor, kerfuffle, or whatever you want to call it. Why do you think, before I give my theories as to why I think Gosling missed, why do you think that he missed the Oscar lineup?
Oh, why do I think? I don't know. I'd have to look to see who else was nominated again, because
Okay.
to see what it was stacked up against. But I just feel like maybe at the time it was too weird of a movie for the Academy, because you look at movies nowadays, and I would have never thought a movie like Poor Things would have gotten nominated. I didn't. I thought Emma Stone's performance was absolutely amazing, right? But yeah. I never would have thought that the Academy would have been like, oh yeah, this movie is it.
Even after seeing it,
is it? Yeah.
Even after seeing it, you were not sure they were going to nominate this.
Yeah,
for the Oscars.
I wasn't sure. And we talked backstage. I'm horrible at this. The predictions and whatnot. So
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. You don't. Yeah. I gotcha.
The prediction stuff is not my thing, but it's just, I never know how the Academy's going to go on things, because sometimes they surprise me. Like with the Poor Things thing, I was really surprised. And it got the costuming, it got Emma Stone, and I was happy because, visually the movie is amazing. Her performance is amazing. So, I don't know. I really don't know why he didn't get it.
Well, we'll talk about Poor Things, the wins off air, because I have some, unfortunately, some crow I got to eat there. But as far as
I probably do as well. So
yeah, but as far as the lead actor lineup that year, which I should have alluded to as here are the nominees. So the winner was Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Blood.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And then the other nominees were, I mentioned Johnny Depp for Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, Tommy Lee Jones for In the Valley of Elah, Viggo Mortensen for Eastern Promises, and George Clooney for Michael Clayton. So, looking through the precursors in terms of who got in where and what, as I mentioned before, Gosling got in at Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and SAG. He lost Critics' Choice and SAG to Daniel Day-Lewis, and he lost the Golden Globe comedy category to the eventual Oscar nominee, Johnny Depp. And Daniel Day-Lewis, Clooney, and Mortensen were the only three of the lineup that made it into, again, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, BAFTA, SAG. So, typically, if a film is that strong, they tend to get in for the category for acting most times. We've had a couple cases where we just saw with Margot Robbie, and even a couple years ago with Amy Adams in Arrival, where it's just because you get all the precursor nominations doesn't mean you're guaranteed in that spot. because they could easily go for someone that's a much more flashier role, even if the movie sucked ass, or if it's just really just like it all depends. Like it's all about the awards campaigning and such. And someone like Margot Robbie, it's like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming a mile away that she was going to miss for Barbie because they don't go for that kind of performance. Like we just saw this with Amy Adams with Arrival. But sometimes they do. Sometimes they really do go for it. And I remember distinctly that looking back on it, yeah, Johnny Depp winning for the Golden Globe comedy category, it kind of made sense because the Golden Globes love their comedy, they love their musicals, and that it also won the picture comedy musical category as well. And yeah, Johnny Depp, he got his third Oscar nomination, and so far his last one, because we haven't seen him at the Oscars nominated since, and I don't think we ever will with how shit's going down with him. So yeah, maybe it's best that this is his final Oscar nomination.
I'm not a big Johnny Depp fan, so I probably would have, if I was a part of the Academy, I would have swapped him out, to be honest. But alas, I am not.
Yeah,
I was like in 7th grade, so.
Yeah. I think I managed to listen to the soundtrack before I saw the movie.
For Sweeney Todd.
Yeah,
I saw that in theaters. My friend, she she was obsessed with Johnny Depp, and I've always just had this annoyance just about him.
Even back then.
Yeah, even back then, and it has only grown. It has only grown.
Unfortunately, yeah. He's given us some solid performances, but man, what a piece of shit, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Johnny Depp, he was kind of maybe number 4-ish for lead actor. Especially when he already had 2 previous nominations, and Sweeney Todd, I remember, was it was maybe a top 10 contender at least, because it won production design, costumes, and that might have been it for nominations. It got, I think, looking through this, 3 nominations. So that was about it. And then looking through, I realized, okay, I'm taking I want the audience to be aware. I'm taking this with a grain of salt. I haven't seen this film yet, but here's my theory as to why Gosling lost the nomination. It's not necessarily because of Johnny Depp, but it's because of this other actor we had. I don't know if you ever heard of him, Tommy Lee Jones. He's a new up and coming actor. It's not like he's already won an Oscar before for a very highly entertaining blockbuster back in the 90s. Called The Fugitive. But no, I think it's because of him. And I remembered, looking through some of the prediction, or at least some of the retrospectives and people looking back on it, that it kind of made sense as to why Tommy Lee Jones made it in over Gosling, not just because Tommy Lee Jones already had another film, which was a Best Picture frontrunner, and that was No Country for Old Men. He was categorized in supporting for that film, so it was kind of tough to get him and Bardem in when Bardem was always going to be the main focus of that film's campaign. It's like Bardem is going to be the one we're going to try to get the Oscar win for and even get nominated. And everyone talked about how great and chilling that performance was. You've seen No Country for Old Men, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, it's one of the few Coen brother movies I can actually stand watching, and it's one that I have no problem throwing it on every so often and be like, yeah, let's watch some of this, because it is actually really entertaining, and it's really great for what it is. And yeah, so I do wonder if there was that sense of all right, we want to get Tommy Lee Jones in here because he is really good in this movie. But then but I do wonder if the Academy thought to themselves, we got this other movie that he's in for lead actor, and that 5th spot is kind of it's not airtight. It's it's kind of doable. We have other contenders, James McAvoy was a fringe contender, for Atonement, where he got the BAFTA and Golden Globe nod. We got Emile Hirsch for Into the Wild, was another fringe contender. Also, so it's very much we could do with this. And then even looking through who was it? God, what the film was about, In the Valley of Elah, which is about a father trying to find out what happened to his son after he was tragically killed, and it's talking about the Iraq. It's addressing themes of the Iraq War, PTSD, and especially I was like, wait a minute, wasn't this around 2007 or so when it came out? And I'm like, yep, okay, that makes sense. And it's directed and co-written by disgraced Oscar winner, another disgraced person who is very talented, but we shouldn't give him any jobs anymore. Well, more jobs, I should say. It's Paul Haggis. Especially with all the shit that you may have looked up about him. What is this now? Like two canceled people that we've addressed on the podcast. It's like, ugh, like tugging at your collar. It's like, or
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of helped that it was directed and co-written by Paul Haggis, and the Academy loved their political dramas, especially when it's revolving around older actors or veteran actors. And I do wonder if that was like another point of like, oh yeah, the older Academy members would be willing to be like, yeah, let's watch Tommy Lee Jones, doing his thing over, again, this weird movie that bombed at the box office. I mean, In the Valley of Elah bombed at the box office too, but it wasn't. I feel like the financial revenue or the financial loss for it wasn't really anything to hurt for it or have it against its chances, because again, Lars and the Real Girl bombed too, and and so on. So yeah, so that's really my theory as to why I think Tommy Lee Jones made it in over Ryan Gosling. And what's even stranger too, again, it's like Tommy Lee Jones got no televised precursor nods for this. Like, he got in for SAG for No Country for Old Men in the supporting actor category, but nothing. Like, I'm looking through his IMDb page right now. He got nominated at Tommy Lee Jones, that is. He got nominated for Dallas-Fort Worth Film Critics Association, and then he got a Satellite nomination. London Film Critics gave him like an Actor of the Year nomination. I'm looking through St. Louis Film Critics, Alliance of Women Film Journalists, Village Voice Film Poll. He was like number 6. AARP Movies for Grown Up Award nominations. That's it. Like, he wasn't really that much of like a major contender. Again, outside of like, oh yeah, we want to nominate Tommy Lee Jones for something, but we just can't do it for No Country for Old Men, just because that was so focused on getting Bardem the win, and I'm pretty sure Bardem had swept that year. Like, he won everything he needed to get the Oscar. So yeah, so that's my theory as to why I think Tommy Lee Jones made it in over Gosling. But yeah, so and on top of that, it also does, I do wonder if it did kind of hurt a little bit of like, we just recently gave Gosling another nomination, or his first nomination. Do we really want to go, give him like back-to-back nominations? I mean, Who knows? We might see Coleman Domingo possibly miss for Sing Sing. We don't know. Because for all we know, maybe that film isn't as strong as it is, and they just say, yeah, we're not going to give Coleman Domingo another nomination when he just got one for Rustin. It's possible. You never know. Cause,
I don't know. A24 refuses to show it where I live. So
yeah. Yeah. So we don't really know what's going to happen. And there's even been cases where I'm like, oh, yeah, like, Bradley Cooper's totally going to get nominated for Licorice Pizza for supporting actor nod, and that didn't go anywhere. So I don't know what's going to happen. But these kind of things happen every so often, it's just, it's kind of hard to explain. And also I think, going back to real quick with Eastern Promises, it did kind of help that film had won the TIFF Audience Prize.
Yeah.
Where it was like kind of like a solid, not really like a front runner to win any awards, but it was like, at least it's on the mind of voters of like, this could get nominated for something down the road. And they ended up projecting it ended up circling around Viggo Mortensen, who, was able to show his acting chops. And he's also another solid actor who is, showing his acting forte, so to speak. And yeah, so, but yeah, it just happens with some of these things, but yeah, like I said before, earlier on in the show, I'm at least happy that Gosling got nominated for 2 more times, at least by the Academy, for La La Land and Barbie. And, I wonder if he could win an Oscar down the road. Maybe.
I hope so. I really do. I think he's like really such a talent. You like look at what his filmography, and it's like I feel like he's been acting like the entire time I've been watching movies, and he's due for one. I feel like it's like one of those Leonardo DiCaprio situations where they're just gonna like nominate him for something good, but like something that's not like the role he should have gotten it for, you know?
Am I sensing the Revenant shade here?
I like The Revenant, but it's not. I don't think it's the role that Leo should have won for. I digress.
Well, we could say the same thing about Al Pacino and Paul Newman. And
yeah,
like,
I mean,
really,
it happens to so many people. It really does. And it'll happen for Ryan someday, along with, you know, all the other actors and actresses that haven't gotten one yet, hopefully. But.
Yeah, and there's one I think this season we're about to get in one of the supporting categories that I'm like, yeah, I feel like they're probably going to give it to this person. But I don't know. I think I think you know what I'm talking about. But if not, I'll tell you it off air.
Okay.
But yeah, overall though, I don't really have any other awards questions or any other things to bring up about the awards. Other than before we sign off, I'm just gonna give my little quick spiel or announcement, so to speak. So Megan is not aware of this at all. I purposely kept her in the dark about this. And again, we are recording a bit early in advance, so when I say this, I ask that you don't say what it is publicly until I officially announce it, but I will announce it once the episode drops. So after this episode, we have one more left with a recurring guest, or at least I'm going to try to bring on another recurring guest for my final episode. And I've announced that once we get that episode done, we're gonna put a pause on the episode, the podcasting for about a month or so. But when we come back, we're gonna put a pin on this lone screenplay nominee thing for a little bit longer. And you're probably wondering, well, Matt, what are you gonna do then if you're gonna come back with the podcast and whatnot? We're gonna test this out. We're gonna see how this goes. Okay. But I want to try, just for a couple episodes, cover the lone Oscar-winning screenplay films. So films like Juno, you've already mentioned, American Fiction. I'm trying to think of another film. Sense and Sensibility is another one. The Crying Game. We're going to try to cover some of them. I've already got my first couple episodes going through. The first one we'll be announcing is on not Pulp Fiction, excuse me. That's for an episode down the road. It's Almost Famous. We will be covering Almost Famous for the very first episode when we come back in 2025. I've already got my guests lined up for that, but we're that's what the show will be. So we're gonna test it out, see how the waters are. Hopefully it's something that I feel like I can gain a bit more guests on. Not that I haven't enjoyed my time on this. I really have, and I'm really grateful for doing the podcast. But I feel like, for a show going on as long as I have, which is only over a year, I feel like it's time for me to just switch it up a little bit. So that's what we're going to do when we come back after our long, hibernation. Is we're going to cover some of the lone screenplay Oscar winners. And who knows, I might bring Megan back on for the show. And Megan, if you want to come back on and you got some suggestions or potential picks you want to go for, let me know, and we'll talk about it off air. But yeah, that's essentially the announcement we're announcing now. I was going to wait until December, but I was like, you know what? Might as well say it for this episode, especially with how the timing is and such. So I could at least keep you guys on the loop instead of being like, here's our final episode. Here's the announcement, by the way. Bye. See you in a month. So that's the plan we're doing, and that's it. I don't really have anything else to say other than that. We'll give you guys more context or a little bit more of what's going to happen with some of these episodes, and they will be structured differently than how we're doing the lone screenplay nominee episodes themselves. So there's that. So like I said, thank you as always, listeners, for listening, and thank you again, Megan, for dedicating your time to be here on the show. Before we sign off, is there anything you'd like to plug in or where listeners can follow you along after the episode is done?
Yeah, you can follow me on basically all social media, including Blue Sky. I just got Blue Sky the other day, as WonderMeg with an underscore. That's basically anywhere social media except for Facebook. I don't have a Facebook that you can follow me at. My writing is wonderwatchlist.com. I will be having some pretty cool interviews, hopefully posted by the time this airs. They haven't happened yet, but they will. So hopefully they will be posted by then. If not, they will be coming soon. So keep your eye. If you're a fan of The Penguin, or if you're a fan of Heretic, keep your eyes peeled.
Ooh.
Yes.
I'm sensing some background actors coming on to talk about the show.
No, it is not the actors. It's not the actors. It is people just as important though to the production of the show. But I'll tell you after air.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, perfect. And like and I will also keep my lips sealed. So
Yes.
So yeah, you could follow me and the show through Linktree under @Matthew995, where you can follow me on all my social media accounts. I've also created a Blue Sky link as well, but you can follow me through there, and I've actually provided a link for that as well. I don't know the Blue Sky handle on the top of my head, but it's on the Linktree website, so yeah, you can find it there. On the same site, I've also provided a link where you can listen to more episodes of this show, and if you're interested in being in the hot seat for next year, let me know, and hopefully we can arrange that happening soon. I can't speak today. In the meantime, we hope you enjoyed listening to our episode, and we hope to see you at the movies. Take care, guys.